everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today for Salesforce Live at Dreamforce. My name's Samantha Reddy, and today I am very excited to have a fireside chat with Heroku. So joining me today is Paul Kopacki, CMO of Heroku. I'm sorry about that. Paul, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I run marketing at Heroku. I've been with Heroku almost a year now. Really excited about what we're doing in the platform as a service space and helping people build great customer-facing apps.
Great. And also joining us today is Margaret Francis, Senior Director of Product Management. Margaret, why don't you say hi?
Thanks for having me. I'm the Senior Director of Product Management at Heroku, where I work with a great team of PMs to help deliver on that platform as a service Paul talked about.
Awesome. And also joining us today is Matt Creager, Developer Evangelist at Heroku.
I can confirm Paul is not the CTO. Yeah, I'm a Developer Evangelist. My name is Matt at Heroku, and I just try to help developers take advantage of the platform.
Awesome. Well, before we get started, let's clear the air. Paul, can you tell us a little bit about what Heroku does and why it's such a great platform?
Sure. So Heroku, for those of you who don't know, we're a part of Salesforce. We're a Salesforce company, and we really focus on allowing customers to build apps that face their customers. So what they do is they use Heroku to build apps that engage their customers. That's really our great strength. It's our great strength because we support the languages of the consumer internet, and those are what those applications are typically built on.
Okay. And so when you say customers are building engaging apps, can you tell me a few customer apps that come to mind?
Yeah, absolutely. What we see is we see lots and lots of companies out there that are realizing that whatever their core business is, they also need to be in the apps business as well. It's because their customers are spending so much of their time on their mobile devices. That's the place where they need to carry their brand. That's the place they need to deliver customer-facing experiences. So they need to build great apps that extend their experience from wherever it is natively and organically in their business into the digital world. And they look to Heroku to help them do that. So among our customers that you may have heard of, Macy's.com runs their mobile e-commerce applications on us. So if you go to your favorite app store, whether Android or iOS, you can download the Macy's.com app. Macy's also owns Bloomingdale's, and they've got a great app called the Big Brown Bag app. Great buying experiences that help Macy's reach their customers when they're not in their stores.
Awesome. So I know a lot of the people on the line are familiar with Force.com. How would you say that Heroku pairs well with Force.com?
Yeah, we complement Force.com really well. Most of our customers who are building these apps on Heroku, they're already running their businesses on Salesforce. So they're using Sales Cloud, they're using Force.com, they're using Service Cloud. What they want is they want these customer-facing apps to connect tightly back to the technologies they're using to run their business. And because Heroku is a Salesforce company, we've got a great technology called Heroku Connect. It makes it all work perfectly seamlessly.
Great. Another really great thing that I love about Heroku is the developer experience. Can you talk to me a little bit about how Heroku is awesome for developers? I
didn't touch on that, and I should have. It's really one of the most important things. When I talk about the technologies of the consumer internet, I'm talking about these are the languages and technologies that really a lot of the developers who are building applications love. This is Ruby on Rails, this is Java, this is Python, this is Node.js. These are the modern languages that you build these customer-facing apps with, and they run on Heroku. Heroku also is built, we like to say it's built by developers for developers, and that's why developers love it. We try and get all of the non-differentiated stuff out of the way of the application developer so they can focus on what really matters, which is making the application great. Making the application great is what will lead to customer loyalty, will lead to customers coming back again and again. That's the right way to carry brand. And so by moving all of the platform technicalities out of the way for the developer, we allow them to focus on the technicalities that really matter, their applications.
Great. And around that developer experience, would it be possible for us to see maybe a little bit of how, what the developer is seeing in the dashboard themselves?
Absolutely. So my colleagues here are going to do a little bit of a demo. We're going to show you a little bit about that connective technology, which we call Heroku Connect. So we'll start with that demo, and then we'll go and we'll show you some of what we call Heroku DbX, some of the core, really developer experience technologies that allow, really drive developers to love us.
Awesome.
So.
Great. So.
Terrific. Do we want to start with an app demo?
That would be wonderful.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we get asked about a lot, particularly at Dreamforce, is how Heroku plays well with the platform. And to Paul's point, I think a lot of our Heroku customers are actually building apps that are e-commerce apps, they're media apps, and other things like that on Heroku, using these consumer-facing technologies, open source technologies. So we've actually brought a demo app to show you today very quickly. It's built in Node and Angular and Ionic, and we call it Nibs, after a fictional high-end chocolatier, since everybody loves chocolate. And if we look at the profile page for this particular consumer, Nina Torres, what we'll see is that she's a member of the Nibs loyalty program. If she goes in and engages with the app, if she engages with the brand, she'll probably be rewarded with loyalty points for those interactions. So Matt's going to drive us through a couple clicks just to see how it works, and there she is. Nina's already ascended another level through the loyalty program. What's unique about this is that this app is running on Heroku, but all of the data that it's generating inside the app about this consumer, Nina, is syncing really seamlessly back to Salesforce via Heroku Connect. So it can be visible, it can be actioned on in Sales Cloud, in Service Cloud, in any other place inside the Salesforce family, inside the Salesforce platform. Matt and I actually, and a few other members of the Heroku team, recently open sourced all of the code for this particular sample app. It's out on our Heroku CX patterns page. You can get it all free, open source on GitHub in the Heroku repository. I think Matt's showing you a quick overview of the project now, and of course it's got a Heroku button on it. So you can literally, with one click, deploy that entire loyalty sample app on Heroku. And if you choose, you can layer on additional integrations to other platform services. Could be Marketing Cloud, the in-app push notifications through the mobile SDK, could be Journey Builder, could be SOS integrations, or communities, or really any other product that's API enabled throughout the Salesforce family. That's how we see Heroku and Salesforce playing together, kind of in a one platform play for all developers. But the real developer experience, I think the programmatic developers we speak to best at Heroku is really kind of like your typical Matt.
It's me? Is it me?
Absolutely you.
I guess I fit the bill.
Yeah.
Should we show them some of that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, let me close a few of these tabs then. So if you're a Heroku developer, you're going to be spending a lot of time in this dashboard. And this is a brand new dashboard. It's the first part of DX. It's been rebuilt from the ground up using Ember.js. You might be familiar with that. And it's awesome because it makes it so easy for you to find projects that you might be working on. These are all applications that you're seeing here. Of course, you might drag and drop one of these between organizations. You might have a few favorite projects that are soaking up most of your time. But would it be okay if I maybe rolled it back and showed a little bit of heritage Heroku? I'm going off script. Nobody's going to like that. Okay, so this is kind of what made Heroku Geek famous. We start with a project. We're on the command line here, so you can see we've made one small change, and this is an application running on my local machine. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create an application. Of course, you could do this from the new shiny dashboard, and maybe you should, but I'm going to do it here for now. So we're going to create an application, and you can see it's already got a URL. In fact, if I use Heroku Open, and Heroku is a great tool belt, you can see that now we have an app, but it's pretty boring. There's nothing there. So let's just quickly fly back over here. We'll commit that change. You don't need to follow along with this, but okay. So here comes the magic. Git push Heroku master. And you're going to see a whole ton of text hopefully scroll past the screen here. So you can see that it's detected that our application has been built with Node. It knows what version we're using. It's going to set up our environment for us. It's going to install our dependencies. And now if we go to Heroku Open, you can see that we actually have an application. This is on the web, it's live, and if you went right now to stark-dawn-1581.herokuapp.com, you would see this page. So, hey, Dreamforce 2014. Okay, so that's like legacy Heroku. That's where the Heroku developer experience really all began. So let's go back over to the dashboard. Again, we're going to be spending a lot of our time here. Let's see if we can't find that application that we just created. Here it is. Okay, so if we go over to activity, there's that deploy that we just did. And again, this dashboard is completely new. And this isn't a very interesting application. There's not a lot going on. We've only got that one successful build and deploy. So let's go and check out our blog, because this is a lot more interesting. And I'm going to skip the resources page. We'll come back to that in just a second. but this is the new Heroku Metrics Dashboard. And I mean, this is really, really cool stuff. This is the stuff that we always intend to get to as a developer, but we never quite get around to. So you can see that we have a whole bunch of metrics here that let us kind of put our thumb on the pulse of the health of our application. So let's just dig into response time, because that's at the top. And arguably, response time, or the speed of your application, probably the most important part. And you can see that we've got like two metrics here, or two numbers. We've got the 28 millisecond and 109 milliseconds. 28 millisecond is the average response, and 109 milliseconds is the 95th percentile. So 95% of requests are going to have a response within 109 milliseconds. So we're really trying to focus developers on the metrics that are going to improve the performance of their application. And there was like a pretty interesting spike here. So let's just come up a little bit, and you can see that we had this error, and maybe this error actually caused this spike in response time. So you don't have to guess what this error is. If you scroll over here to the left, you can see that we had an exit timeout, and if you clicked on that, you'd get a lot more information. And we go one step further than giving you the information that you need to manage your applications. We come up here, you can see, hey, there's been a couple of request timeouts, and we even make some suggestions about how you might speed it up. So in this case, we're suggesting you add more dynos. So what's a dyno? Well, let's jump over to the resources tab for a sec. You can see here that we have dynos. Our application currently has 9 of them. And you can think of a dyno as a unit of compute power, or you can think of a dyno as an instance of your application running in a container. But this is how easy it is. Paul mentioned how important it is to be able to scale. Well, I mean, it doesn't get much easier than drag and drop. So every time we increment, we're getting a new instance of our application. And if we wanted to give them our instances a bit more horsepower, of course we could. Okay, so on to the next part of the developer experience, Heroku DbX. Heroku DbX is an add-on. You could think of add-ons like cloud services that have been integrated into the platform. So let's click on Heroku Postgres. We're coming to the administrative page here. And I think you're really going to like this. If you're like me and you haven't spent a whole lot of time tuning queries, but you think you should, this is going to be really, really helpful. We can just scroll down here to the expensive query section. And really what we're doing here is we're digging into your database layer, and we're figuring out which queries are the most time consuming, which queries are have the slowest execution time or the highest throughput. So you know exactly where you need to invest your engineering hours to get the best output. You know, how are you really going to improve your application speed or your query speed? And of course, we've even got a little visualization here, which makes it really easy to kind of connect the dots and figure out, so for example, we had a spike here, and maybe that slowed our response time, and we could just jump back to the metrics dashboard and change it up. So that's Heroku DbX, which I think is really, really cool. Okay, save the best for last. So I showed you the git push Heroku master. We kind of challenged ourselves to make that even just a little bit easier. If you go to buttons.heroku.com, we have a whole library of these buttons, and these buttons basically, you can add them to your own projects, your own tutorials, your examples, your own open source applications, and people can hit one of those buttons, and I'm going to show you exactly how it works here. I mean, you can see there's tons of examples. There's examples from Twilio and Uber and Dropbox, but we're going to scroll down to this button sample because I know it's going to deploy quickly. Now I could click this, and it would be deployed instantly and available, but I'm actually just going to prove to you that this is just a basic GitHub repository. So here's the GitHub repo. Scroll down. Okay, let's hit that deploy to Heroku button. All right, cool. So now we can see we're back in our dashboard. We can give the application a name, but it's optional, so let's just deploy this. Now, these steps that you're seeing are the exact same steps you saw when we did the git push Heroku master. I mean, it's going through the same thing. It's creating the app, configuring the environment, it's building it, and eventually it's going to deploy it to Heroku. So just give it 2 more seconds, and we can view it. Hey, look at that, we're live. We've deployed an application with 1 click. So I think I can call that mission accomplished.
And that's really, I mean, it went by so quickly, people on the phone might have missed it. I mean, that was a real app being deployed from scratch to, you know, live on the internet. People could go to it right now, and if you as a developer wanted to, completely customize it to, you know, build on it, customize it however you want. And I think that is a huge win for developers and, you know, productivity. Yeah. So we saw customer experience, we saw developer experience all around. I think Heroku is just a proven platform for customer success. But for those that are already using Salesforce, have Salesforce data, how do they get started with Heroku Connect?
Oh, that's a great question. It's a really easy point-and-click user interface, so you don't even need to be a developer to set up Heroku Connect and enable a developer to work with your Salesforce data inside a Heroku Postgres database. And what makes it so elegant is that you have a business analyst or anyone who's familiar with your Salesforce deployment simply specify the objects you want to sync and what fields you want to sync, and all of that data ends up resident in a Postgres database where a developer who's really conversant with SQL can actually work with it and read it and write it back and forth between Heroku and Salesforce. That's what unlocks all of the app power for the Westfields, the Macy's, the Toyotas that really want to build a consumer-facing app using all of these consumer technologies on Heroku, but have to have it integrate seamlessly with their Salesforce deployment.
Great. And do any of you guys have a favorite app by any chance? Any favorite consumer app built on Heroku?
I really love the the Westfield app. So Westfield is a mall company. They own shopping centers all around the world, one of the world's largest. They've been in business for 54 years. They really know what it's like to run a shopping center, but they realized they needed to build a digital experience to go along with it. And they built a killer app. And you'd say, hey, what is a shopping center company doing building apps? How do they do that? Well, they do it by choosing Heroku, hiring a bunch of great developers, and giving them the tools that they love. I encourage you to go to your app store, download the Westfield app, play around with it. You can order food. It's got a great interactive map. You can find promotions from different stores. It's terrific.
Is there a gallery anywhere on Heroku.com that customers can look to see examples of Heroku applications?
There is. Actually, we have a customer story gallery where you can not only read about the applications, you can also read the stories behind them, why they chose Heroku. It's at Heroku.com/customers. Easy to find.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys very much for joining us in Salesforce Live today. It was great. Those were some really awesome demos, Matt. Seriously,
Thanks.
Heroku Button, Heroku Dashboard, absolutely
That was the fastest demo ever. That was awesome.
Yeah. And I just want to say, Mark's keynote's coming up now. We're going to have a bunch of great other episodes this week on Salesforce Live. Thank you for everyone tuning in, and see you at Dreamforce.